I'm Mark Julien, the creator of the graphic novel Just in Case and the Closet Monster, and you are listening to the True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. If you want to drop me a line, you can contact me at john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. On this episode, I chat with Mark Julien about his graphic novel, Just in Case and the Closet Monster, at the 2022 Toronto Comic Arts Festival. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. It's also available on the True North Country Comics channel on YouTube. I invite you to like and subscribe. Mark is a writer and illustrator based in Toronto, Ontario. A 1999 graduate of the renowned illustration program of the Ontario College of Art and Design, now OCAD University, Mark was a longtime contributing artist to Genre, Men's Exercise, and Exercise for Men Only magazines. He also has illustrated greeting cards for Village Lighthouse, and a series of children's books for Curriculum Plus. Just in Case and the Closet Monster is Mark's debut graphic novel and was named one of the best LGBT graphic novels of 2018 by The Advocate magazine, nominated for the 2018 Virginia Library Association Graphic Novel Diversity Award, and for the 2018 Best Graphic Novel by the Canadian Independent Comics Wiki Awards. Just in Case and the Closet Monster is described as a story of two closeted gay men, Justin and Peter, who struggle to come to terms with who they are. Each man, coming from a different background, has closed the door on the possibility they might be gay, and made a pact with himself to never open it. Luckily for them, members of the Closet Monsters Guild, a legion of magical creatures that reside in a parallel dimension, are about to come along and open that door from the other side. A journey of faith, love, and family, this poignant story blends mythology, campy wit, and fantasy to show that while Justin's path out of the closet has many hurdles, he learns that he is not alone in his quest to accept himself and find true love. And so, without further ado, here's my chat with Mark Julien about his graphic novel Just in Case and the Closet Monster at the 2022 Toronto Comic Arts Festival. So Mark Julien, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm so excited.
I appreciate your time. Thank you. What I usually do to start off the interview is ask the creator about their first comic book. So I'm wondering if you remember, what was the first comic book that you read?
You know what? I can't remember exactly what the first one was, but I know that it was a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man comic. I think it was Spider-Man 308. Mm-hmm. It was the first time that I saw. It wasn't the first Todd McFarlane Spider-Man comic, but it was the first one that I actually collected, and I remember getting so jazzed to see his style and to see him interpret characters I had saw on the 70s or 60s television show, reinterpreted and reimagined.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very memorable. That's for sure. That's for sure. And I was just in my comic book store the other day, and they were playing. Someone actually had the old series, that 60s series, the animated one, and it's very tough to find these days. That's for sure. But it was very influential for me too. That's for sure. that song is still played today in the movie, believe it or not, which is really cool. Anyway.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I digress. So with that being said, I want to ask you, who or what inspires you to create today?
I think the answer to that is more historical. I think one of my biggest influence was Bill Watterson.
Oh, yeah.
Calvin and Hobbes. And I don't collect anymore. I've been really concentrating on just creating the work, but he really, just his imagination and Calvin's connection to this imaginary character, which I think connects to the work that I'm doing.
Yeah, very influential. Bill really influenced a lot of people, that's for sure. So great inspiration. So I wanted to congratulate you next on being an exhibitor at TCAF. I know we've been in lockdown pandemic for the last little while and hasn't been able to take place, but glad you're able to do that. So with that in mind about conventions and festivals, I'm wondering if you have any favorite moments that you can share.
Well, I actually got a chance to meet Todd McFarlane at one of the Comic Cons.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a wonderful moment for me. And he actually spent some time with me. I was just in the process of creating my comic book, Just in Case, or my graphic novel, Just in Case and the Closet Monster. And I'm not a technological guy, so didn't have a website yet, didn't have any of that stuff to be able to share him. And he was so disappointed that he couldn't actually see my work.
Yeah. But that's neat being able to meet with him, though.
Yeah,
really cool.
he's always been one of my heroes, being Canadian, and
Right.
I wanted him so much to see my work, and I actually sent him a book. I don't know if he ever actually got it or saw it, but I knew where to connect with him because he had given me his card. So I'm hoping that he saw the book.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's for sure. And that leads to my next question, which you mentioned, which is your latest book called Just in Case and the Closet Monster. So I wonder if you could talk a wee bit about the story and maybe what inspired you to create it as well.
Well, the premise is Just in Case, the lead character in the graphic novel wakes up one evening to hear a rustling in his closet, and he decides to go and investigate. And when he investigates, he realizes there's a monster in the closet, and we find out throughout the course of the book that the monster's sole purpose is to help him come out of the closet.
Ah, okay. So is it a humorous book, or is it, how would you define it?
I would say it was my intention for it to be humorous, but being in the closet can be a scary time and a very emotional time. So I think it touches on a lot of things and a lot of different themes and runs the gamut between being quite serious and emotional to be laugh out loud funny.
Ah, okay. And I know that from reading your blog that you've sort of detailed steps that went into behind the scenes of making the book and what was involved in it. So it's, would you say it's cathartic as well?
Yeah, for sure. You asked me what the reason is that I wrote the book, and the reason was my father passed away in 2006 from complications due to Alzheimer's disease. And I actually was never able to tell my dad that I was gay. And this was my opportunity. I look at Just in Case and the Closet Monster as a love letter to my dad, being able to tell him what it was like for me to be gay and have that conversation that I never really had the courage to have with him while he was alive.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss, but it certainly is a great memorial, for sure.
Yeah, well, and thankfully I've gotten some great response from my family, and I think he would have loved it.
Right. Speaking of your website that I checked out, I noticed that you posted a very positive comment from Sir Ian McKellen. I'm wondering, how did you manage that?
Well, I can't take credit for that. I have to give credit for that to my fantastic husband, Stacey Kelly. He was decided to reach out to a bunch of different celebrities when we were running the Kickstarter campaign to fund my book. And we reached out to Sir Ian, and Sir Ian actually got back to us and said that he would be really excited to make a donation to the campaign. But by the time Ian got back to us, or Sir Ian, sorry, by the time he got back to us, the campaign was over, and we just said, would it be all right if we send you a copy of the book? And he, through his people, said that would be fine. And so we did send him a copy of the book. He read it and loved it and wrote me a nice email. And I thought I would reach back to him and ask him if it was okay to use his email for publicity for the book, and he very graciously said he would.
Wow, that's great. That doesn't happen every day, that's for sure.
No, and he's one of my idols. I was walking around my apartment for weeks after saying, oh my God, I can't believe Gandalf read my book.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, good stuff there. Want to switch gears a wee bit and talk about the tools used to create your art. Wonder if you could walk me through the process of how you made it.
Well, I still do everything fairly traditional. I work on layers of tracing paper and draw the panels by hand with paper and pencil. And I continue to refine those drawings with layers of tracing paper. So if I like a portion of the drawing, I will keep that portion, and with tracing paper, I will start to refine it until I get it to the linear that I like, and then I scan the linear into the computer, and I work in Photoshop actually.
Okay. So it's a little bit of both, the traditional and digital then.
Yeah, and I work. I think I work 200%, and then bring it down to 100%. So I actually work quite large, so that I can get all the detail in, and then when I scan it into the computer, I reduce it down.
Very good. Now, looking at your bio, I noticed that you attended the Ontario College of Art and Design. So looking back, I'm wondering if there's one thing that you could say that you took away from the Institute that has helped you with your career.
Well, it's funny. When I graduated, they prepared me to be a freelance illustrator, working for magazines and the lot. So they actually stifled my comic book aspirations at the time, and then after I graduated, I went back to wanting to do comic books. I would say that the biggest tip they gave me was that technique of working on tracing paper. Just opened up a world for me, because I always thought before I went to school that everything that I drew had to be perfect, and that I always did a lot of rough work, but I never had this process of being able to layer pieces of paper on top of each other and keeping the parts of the drawing I liked. So that was revolutionary for me. And when I graduated, which was in 1999, a long time ago, everything was traditional. So I wasn't doing anything on the computer. So that's why I still work that way, traditionally.
Have you ever thought of moving into the digital realm when it comes to doing your initial artwork?
I have. Everybody is telling me that I need to get a tablet and I need to start drawing, but there's something about that process that I really like. I like the fact that it takes a lot of time, because it allows me to go over the writing of the book in my head, because that whole time that I'm working on those drawings, I have a script and it's finished, but I refine it as I go. And I think I would lose that process if it was more immediate and I was working right on the computer. I think maybe I wouldn't have as much time to refine the story.
Right. No, that makes sense. For sure. So we've talked about your book, Just in Case and the Closet Monster. I'm wondering, do you have any other up-and-coming projects that you can talk about?
Yeah, well, I wanted to continue on with the story. There are two characters, Abigail and Bethany, that didn't actually get a lot of screen time, because there's quite a few characters in the book. I think there's 21 characters. There's a guild of monsters, by the way, so there's just not the closet monster that comes to Justin. There are other monsters, and these two characters are monsters in that world, and it's basically a love story between them two. And and I'm working on it right now, and the book is called Becoming Able.
Because we're talking about TCAF, do you think you might have some artwork to show off at the show?
I'm hoping. I have a couple of promotional pieces that I've done that I'd like to get printed and be able to share that with the participants and the people that come to TCAF. So hopefully I'll have something to show.
And this will be another Kickstarter, you think?
I think so. I'm looking at maybe doing this book completely online, but I haven't made up my mind yet as to how that's going to go.
Well, that leads me to my next question then. For people who want to find out about your current and your future projects, where do you recommend they go online?
For sure. You can check out my website at justincaseandtheclosetmonster.com. And one of the really cool things, well, I think it's cool, things that I did was when I was doing the Kickstarter promotion, just before that, I wanted to get some buzz about me and get people to know about my story. So I did a series of blog entries about what the process was like for me coming out of the closet and what it was like for me to write the book. So you can actually, viewers or people that are interested could actually find out more about my story if they so choose.
Very good. Very good. Well, Mark, those are all the questions I have for you, but I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
We're going to have a special price for TCAF, and we're going to take $10 off the book, so it's actually going to be $20 instead of $30.
And that will be also through your website?
That'll be a special price at TCAF.
Thanks to Mark for the chat. You can discover more about Mark on Instagram at JustinCaseAndTheClosetMonster and online at JustinCaseAndTheClosetMonster.com. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts. And please leave a good rating. Also check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website and follow along on Twitter at True North Comics. True North Country Comics is now on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that video channel. Please send your feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks again for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast, copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2022.